I wanted to start off and ask you, do you, I mean, looking back at, like, say, Under the Shadow, which was, a very, very personal film for you, but something like I Came By, I mean, you can see that there are influences like from, Hitchcock and stuff like that. I suppose, do you, as a director and as a writer, do you need to have some kind of personal attachment to it in order to make it, or is it enough that it's a good story and a good kind of thriller, a good, like, an enjoyable kind of story to read yourself? Like,
100% I need to have some level of personal attachment to it, even if it's the tiniest thing. I think that's the drive for me to, like, keep me going and think about how to develop the story. And with I Came By, I came up with the idea first year of film school, and a lot of there's a bit of me in the characters of Toby and Jay, young me, and a lot of, like, my close friends from uni, they inspired the characters of Toby and Jay. And I always say that, like, once they watch it, they're probably going to ring me and say, "Oh, I know where you took inspiration from." So I think it's always needs to start on some level, on a personal level, even if it's the tiniest thing.
Yeah. What films were you watching during production, or are you one of those directors that watches films during production, or what's your kind of take on that?
I mean, to be honest with you, during production, it's so
hectic,
grueling, and, like, I wasn't really watching that many films. I was mainly watching Ted Lasso, like, because it was like I need to, like, switch off. So, but before that, when I was, like, developing the film, and, like, even when the idea came to me, like, I took a lot of inspiration first and foremost from Hitchcock. It's a Hitchcockian neo-noir thriller, and I love Hitchcock and the way he deals with suspense. But then also a lot of, as years gone by, like, a lot of, like, South Korean films like Park Chung-woo and Bong Joon-ho, and just, like, Mother was a great influence. I love the way they think out of the box, and, like, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Creepy from Japan, and then also, like, most recent sort of new noirs in Hollywood, like, obviously the classic 90s one first, like Silence of the Lambs or Seven and films. But then most recently, like The Prisoners or Nightcrawler. And that was a weird thing that, like, Hitchcock is from Britain. And I was like, well, for some very odd reasons, you rarely see Hitchcockian films getting made in Britain now. So I wanted to bring those sensibilities back, and, make a Hitchcockian neo-noir film in London. And London is also a perfect setting for a neo-noir. I don't know why people are not using it often. The way the city is, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I've always thought that, like, it's interesting you say that, because I saw that film See How They Run, the one with Saoirse Ronan, and, like, that's total noir as you're watching. It's like, why you haven't done, I mean, I suppose Edgar Wright did it as well with the that most recent one, Last Night in Soho.
With a very Edgar Wright style. I love Edgar Wright films, but I think we need to see more and more of that, to be honest with you, because it's such a fascinating city. Obviously it's a very historical place, but at the same time it's very diverse as a city, and that was a key thing for us, was to never make, when we set out to make a London film, we were like, we don't want this to become a postcard version of London. It needs to feel like we're on the ground with the character, like true Londoners, like looking at the city as like you live there, like that was really key for us, so hope we delivered on that.
Talk to me a bit about the casting of George and Purcell, because I mean, George, like, he's one of those actors, I think, that he's so kind of physical in what he does, and that, like, he's very, like, I mean, obviously, like, he's built like a tank, like, he's, takes his shirt off and it's like, Jesus. Yeah. But I mean, was there any specific performance from either of them that you saw them in that you were like, that's our characters?
I think with George, I've been a fan of him for such a long time, but Captain Fantastic was definitely, I saw him in that film and I was like, he would be great. I'd love to work with him. And, and I think, and he is a very physical actor, because he went and learned how, like, he like physically trained himself to do like the upside down flips on the monkey bars in the park, and like, but he's also very meticulous in his research. He was the very first one who came on board on the project, and I was so blessed. He read the script in 24 hours, and I was very nervous. But he rang me and he said, "I want to do it," and I was like, "Yeah." So we went to exhibitions. We talked about movies, and also he asked a lot of the questions about who is this character inspired by, and like told him a bit of a backstory, and loads and loads of calls. And with Purcell, he came and auditioned for the role, and he blew us away. I think he's such an amazing talent, and I really hope we see him in more and more films and TV shows, because he's just incredible. He has a massive fan base, of course, and does his own sketches, but he's also very funny. But yeah, he blew us away with his audition, and so yeah, that's how we pieced it together with those two characters. Yeah,
I mean, the one I haven't talked about yet is Hugh Bonneville, and I'm gonna be upfront and say I cannot stand Downton Abbey at all. I can't stand it. I absolutely hate it. I think it's, as an Irishman, it's inbred in me to just, whenever there's like English aristocrats, I'm just like, And I'm wondering, I mean, obviously, like, it's the kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? Like that, he starred in this show where he played a very sort of genial English aristocrat, and in this he's playing a bloodthirsty psychopath who also happens to be an English aristocrat. I mean, were there any discussions about Downton Abbey? I mean, was there any kind of connectivity, or is it just, no, he's played this before, he can play it again kind of thing?
For me, there was a bit of that, try to avenge you, man. But I for me, it was a bit like, well, he's done this type of role. And for me, Hector was he needs to look like this sort of platonic, like charming Englishman. With a really dark secret. And but one other element with Hugh was, he's also known for his family films like Paddington and comedies. So I really wanted to cast someone who hasn't done such a role before, and he was so brave and up for it. He wanted to do a sort of like a new thing, and kind of almost like go against what he's been doing, which again, like, hats off to him. And we had a lot of conversation about who Hector is and his background and his privilege. So and he's very smart, and so he was like, that conversation did come up, and he was like totally embracing the fact that he's gonna sort of like do the unexpected with this role. Huge respect to him, and he was an amazing actor to work with and a great collaborator. Very meticulous as well.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, I'm getting the wrap there, so thanks a lot, appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Hector's hiding something.
I really tried to be kind, but I had this rage that was so liberating, so empowering. Do you want to know what happened?